the three. Bucket and book it.
The streak is over, ladies and gents. The Raptors have officially won a single basketball game for the first time since March 3rd, and it came at the hands of the Milwaukee Bucks, who have now lost 3 straight games to bottom feeders in weird fashion. We'll get into that in a second, but first, this was the healthiest the Raptors have been in a month. RJ and Quick came back, Ochai Agbaji came back, and Grady and Kelly also got back into the lineup. The only key players missing for the Raptors were Scottie and Jakob, and so Toronto in general looked much better than they have in that 15-game streak.
It feels really good. I'm really obviously proud of our team. Desire to win, a lot of stuff that we had to overcome during the game. Guys came out, they were together, they breathed like one, and they really deserve this win tonight.
Barrett and Quickley combined for 51 points on the night, and IQ nearly had his first triple-double as a Raptor, adding on 11 rebounds and 9 assists. Both guys did a great job of setting up Trent Jr., who dropped a team-best 31 points, and overall the Raptors were just better offensively against a Bucks team that was missing Giannis. Defensively, Toronto did what it could to limit Milwaukee, but honestly, a lot of it was the Bucks' mistakes and self-inflicted ones that cost them the game. In fact, RJ Barrett scored the final field goal for the Raptors with 4 minutes left. The Bucks committed 7 fouls the rest of the way that led to 11 free throws for Toronto to put the game away. Completely bizarre stuff from a potential contender.
Yeah, really just being able to play, get into a certain rhythm, a certain mindset. Again, I think I've seen something we haven't even, this three we haven't played together since like March 1st or something like that crazy. Something like that crazy. So really just trying to get the reps in as much as we can, obviously knowing each other's tendencies, knowing where we want to get shots on the floor. And we still learning, so we just take it game by game.
Anyways, the Raptors were healthy and finally played well. Go figures. It's as if the last month of basketball wasn't actually an accurate representation of how good this team could be, but it sure is great to have Barrett and Quickley to simplify things for everyone, and a big beneficiary tonight was GTJ. So, to the film room. Gary is great at making the most out of advantages other players can create for him. Here, the defense kind of collides in to help on the Quickley drive. Gary makes himself available and is able to attack the closeout, settle for a floater. This next possession, dribble handoff with IQ and Kelly. Nothing really comes of it, so instead IQ immediately sets a screen, a flare screen for Gary, and this hooks Gary up for a wide open shot. Not only using your own gravity on the ball, but using your gravity like Quickley does here to create a shot for a good shooter. Similar play here, a flare action for a flare screen for Gary to get open and shake to the top. But the main thing here is that the defense's attention is on RJ and Quickley. RJ, the ball handler, Quickley, the guy who is trying to screen the ball handler, and instead the off-ball action is something that the Bucks completely fall asleep on, and so does Jay Crowder. That leads to a wide-open three-point shot for Gary, who's feeling himself on the night. In transition, just want to recognize a good job by Gary to pass it in transition, but also look how Quickley manipulates this defense in order to get a good shot for Gary. So here he is, fakes doing the dump-off pass to Kelly. That forces Middleton to dig in, and that creates a wide open shot for Gary right there. Incredible manipulation by Quickley in the transition. He does something similar here, so, uses his downhill ability. He makes Middleton hesitate with that pull-up shot, and instead, AJ Green has to dig in on the drive, and he just creates a wide open shot for Gary in transition. This time, Gary sort of bails out Quickley, but really, really bad off-ball defense from Dame as well, who just falls asleep, doesn't recognize the shooter. Great job of staying patient by Gary to do the little sidestep 3 here. This is just great, smart basketball from Quickley too. So he realizes that he has Portis on him, and he calls for an ISO. Instead, Middleton tries to switch it immediately, but Quickley is able to beat the switch by getting it to Gary, who's the guy that Portis should be on because of the switch, and he knocks it down. That is just incredible awareness from Quickley to be like, hey, in this split second that these guys are trying to switch this action, I'm going to hit it to the guy that he's trying to get it to. And that's incredible. Here on a little bit of a broken play, just quickly to Gary once again using his gravity as a pull-up shooter to drag two to the ball, create an opening for Gary to hit that shot. That was actually the second last shot of the game for the Raptors. Made shot of the game, I should say, which is just, it's bizarre to even think about that in a minute after that shot, that Gary shot, RJ would hit a layup and that would be the last shot of the game for the Raptors. They would not hit a single field goal after that and still would go on to win the game. They hit, I believe, 7 of their 11 free throws to finish this game and beat Milwaukee. And it was just a bizarre game from the Bucks perspective. I mean, so many unforced, self-inflicted mistakes, fouls on loose balls, fouls on rebounds, fouls on literally the most like non-contact, very, very soft calls you could see that like are fouls, but they were just making bonehead plays. And I some of the clips that I illustrated for Gary, yes, it's Quickley and RJ manipulating the defense to be able to open up Gary, and that's 100% true, but also the Bucks defense is terrible in a lot of those clips. Dame falls asleep or Malik Beasley isn't recognizing the closeout. And it's just like, you look at Milwaukee, you look at some of their issues, you look at who they've lost to recently, Washington, Memphis, and now Toronto. I mean, that's worrisome in its own right, man. Like you're trying to be a championship contender. And I know they've gone through a lot this season that to me, I already kind of took them out of that inner circle of championship contenders because they just haven't looked the part this year. I think the only teams that really have like genuinely looked the part this year are Denver, Boston, and OKC. And I understand the skepticism around OKC because of their youthfulness, but I'm saying in terms of fitting the bill for what a contender looks like, those are really the only 3 teams that like have, for me, certified that they've looked like a contender. Knicks have been hurt. Cavs have been hurt. Clippers did it for 2 months, but then started playing 2 months of the worst basketball I've seen. And it just, for the whole season, the entirety of the season, I think it's only been those 3 teams that are the inner circle contenders. That being said, OKC has a long way to go from actually becoming a contender, in my opinion, a championship contender. Anyways, we'll see. That's bigger scope NBA stuff, folks. The Raptors won a basketball game. They won a single game for the first time in a month, and man, they did it in pretty awesome fashion. I mean, obviously they just were healthy in this game, and that helped a lot. I think the fact that they realized they're pretty much locked into the 6th best or worst odds, whatever way you want to call it, for the lottery, they've decided, yeah, you know what, Ochai is good to go, Grady is good to go, Gary is good to go, Kelly is good to go. And obviously, it's great to see RJ and Quickley back in full swing, too. And so, fully healthy, the team is good. Like that, I'm sorry that I don't have groundbreaking analysis here. But fully healthy. Not a 15 losses in a row type of team. Also, they're not even fully healthy. We're still waiting for the franchise player in Scotty Barnes and Jakob Poeltl, the starting big man here, to return to action. And they likely won't return in the next week or so. I don't think that's the case. I don't think they will be. But I think they're right on track in terms of how they want to incorporate RJ and Quickley back into the scheme of things. I think this next week or so will be a nice little trial run to see how they can operate and what they need to work on. And I'm sure the scouting department is looking at certain things and saying, all right, well, here are going to be some of our offseason notes for these guys. And I think one of the more fascinating things will be how the rest of the team kind of acclimates to that. Because it's been like 3 weeks of no RJ and Quickley, and these guys are back now. And so how are you going to adapt to that environment? We saw Gary Trent Jr. kill it tonight. Why? Because he adapted to that environment. He's like, all right, cool. These guys are handling the ball. These guys are creating advantages. I'm going to be here. Let me know when you want to pass me the ball. I'm going to knock down these shots. And he did. He did. He played his part offensively. And I think Grady had some moments where he did that too. But that's more of a learning curve for a guy who's still a rookie versus Gary, who's been doing this for, a long time now, right? Like Gary has been working off advantages that Pascal has created and Scotty has created and Fred has created for like 3 seasons now. He's kind of gotten used to being in this role. For Grady, it's like he's being, the last month it was like, hey, you're going to be the guy who takes the second most amount of shots on the team. To now it's like, all right, well, you're coming off the bench. He came off the bench today with Ochai Agbaji back. And, how are you going to deal with that? What is the kind of mental process that you go through to go from a guy who's starting and taking 20 shots a game to, all right, now you got 12 shots to work with. I think he shot 12 shots tonight. What are you going to do in those 12 shots? How are you going to make your kind of impact on the game? He had some moments and he made some shots, had some nice offensive rebounds, played some defense. I thought, towards the end, Dame was just mismatch hunting him and saying, all right, you come here. Let me just do my work on you. And like, hey, that's going to be something that teams will do. As Grady gets more playing time, he will be on the scouting report more. And so teams will realize like, all right, we can maybe attack this guy a little bit defensively. And that'll be an area where he needs to eventually grow. So I think the next stage for this team is just a fascinating one of reincorporating these guys coming back, seeing what the offseason, workout and schedules and things will look like and how they're going to add to this thing. It's kind of exciting. And it's also a relief, right? I mean, you lost 15 in a row. As soon as they get healthy, they win. Like as soon as they get even 75% healthy, they've won a basketball game. They're still missing their franchise player, still missing their starting center, and they ended up winning a game, albeit against the Bucks team that seemingly is not going through the best of stretches of basketball. But hey, you take them where you can, especially when you've lost 15 in a row, folks. Anyways, Washington on Sunday, chance to add to that. They're pretty much locked into 6th. There is like a very small chance if the Raptors were to just win all of their games to finish this season and Memphis doesn't win a single game the rest of the way, that they would lose the 6th best odds. But I don't think they would lose. The Raptors would win all of their games the rest of the season. That's that one first and foremost. And I think Memphis has probably one more win in there to pretty much lock it up. And so we'll see. Likely it's the case that the lottery odds are staying where they are, and the Raptors will end with the 6th best or worst odds this season. We'll see how that shakes out. Still got, I think it's going to be like middle of May for the lottery. Should be interesting. Either way, folks, thank you so much. Subscribe to Raps Republic. Appreciate you guys as always. Read the stuff that they do, and we will see you guys on Sunday or Monday for the Wizards game. Bye-bye.